Hey VC, it's me Roger back to do part 2 of my Guided by Voices Robert Pollard collection. Cheers. Yeah, I'm having another milk stout. In the background we're listening to Alien Lanes, Guided by Voices 1995 debut on Matador Records. This is the first pressing in a digipack. Subsequent versions are in a plain old jewel case. I'm going to show the vinyl in a second. So, picking up where we left off, 1994, success of B1000 transforms Guided by Voices from this basement hobby into a full-fledged rock band. Pollard assembles what became known as the so-called classic lineup, Guided by Voices, with Tobin Sprout on guitar and vocals, Greg Demos on bass, Mitch Mitchell on lead guitar, and Kevin Fennell on drums. And they would make a bunch of records over the next couple of years I'm going to show you and tour relentlessly. And then eventually break up. Purportedly Matador, who had distributed B1000, swooped in, signed Guided by Voices, and purportedly gave Pollard a $100,000 advance. An astonishing sum for that period for an indie label. And since their forthcoming album only cost about $10 to record, Pollard took 40% of that $100,000 and then distributed the remaining 60% to the rest of the band. Which is pretty generous when you think about it. So yeah, 1995. Their first record for Matador is Alien Lanes. This is an original copy, gatefold. Now yeah, B1000, an important record, belongs in every record collection, but personally I prefer to listen to this for a couple reasons. For one thing, Tobin Sprout has mastered that crappy little Tascam cassette 4-track machine. And is really able to get a rich, textured, fat sound. You know, all things considered, it's a really, sounds good. And Robert Ludwig mastered this, direct metal mastering, so it has really punchy, big sound. Great. But the thing is, the songs, 28 songs in 42 minutes, there's not a clunker in the batch. I love this record. There's a single, Motor Away, backed with Color of My Blade. There's Mitch Mitchell on the cover, striking a pose. Like the I'm a Scientist EP, this version of Motor Away is different from what appears on the album. Went into a Regal studio in Dayton, tried to record a big muscular version of that rockin' song, and it's great. It's killer. Later in the year, there's another 7-inch EP, Tiger Bomb. This is Jimmy Pollard, Robert Pollard's brother, who was an integral part of Guided by Voices. Never toured with them, but definitely a key collaborator. And again, just another great EP, great 7-inch, some more big studio remakes of some Alien Lane songs like My Viable Hunting Knife, Game of Pricks, some Tobin Sprout songs on the B-side. Killer. So, by 1996, I think Pollard realized that he'd done all that could be done on a 4-track. Like I keep saying, even though they get lumped into this lo-fi thing, they, Pollard really wanted to make big rock records. And eventually go to great lengths to do so. Briefly. So in '96, They decide they're going to go into real studios and work with real producers. They go to Chicago, record some tracks with Steve Albini, and it doesn't go real well. He's befriended Kim Deal, who's also from Dayton, who produces some tracks down at Easley Studios in Memphis, and it doesn't go real well. Pollard is notoriously impatient, wants to do things quickly, and the truth is, if you want to make a big sounding rock record, you got to put in the time and the tedium. And so, dissatisfied, he takes those tapes and goes back to Dayton, feeds some of them through the 4-track in order to, you know, I don't know, make them sound crappier. Does some other things in the local studio. And the unlikely result of all that is Under the Bushes, Under the Stars, which came out in March of 1996. So I guess they must have been recording at the end of 95. It's great. Because, you know, despite Pollard's fucking with tapes, it does have a bigger sound. And the songwriting, you know, Pollard is at his peak here. And it's just an outpouring of songs that's just astonishing. So many songs that this includes an EP with 6 more songs that aren't even listed on the packaging. Added at the last minute. Despite the fraught nature of the making of this record, it's great. Great. Of course, some singles. This came out in advance of the LP, the official Iron Man Rally song. Backed with 3 B-sides. You know, just another great 7-inch. A few months later, a 12-inch EP, Sunfish Holy Breakfast. I've shown this before. I want to point something out. You know, again, just another great EP, bunch of Tobin Sprout songs. But yeah, so while the label says 33 1/3 RPM, it actually spins at 45. First time I put this on, I was like, what the hell is Pollard doing now? Oh, it's at the wrong speed. And then finally at the end of the year, 1996, another 7-inch EP, Plantations of Pale Pink. It's on orange vinyl. 6 more songs. Lo-fi, 4-track, noisy psych damage weirdness. You know, songs like Cat Food on the Earwig and The Who versus Porky Pig. Gives you an idea of what you're in for. I love it, but it's rough. So yeah, 2 years, bunch of records, touring the world, it takes its toll on the band. Tobin Sprout, who has kids, has a successful career as a painter, and they're all starting to push 40, and Tobin Sprout tells Pollard he can't do it anymore, quits the band. Kevin Fennell, drummer, former alcoholic and drug addict, the non-stop party atmosphere of Guided by Voices on the road caused him to fall off the wagon big time, which caused some problems. Greg Demos was a licensed attorney, decided he wanted to go back to Dayton and practice law, support his family. And as for Mitch Mitchell, Pollard wanted to continue with Mitch, but Mitch himself was kind of a problematic character, in and out of jail, and apparently Pollard went looking for him, and Mitch had disappeared. Also in 1996, Pollard put out his first solo album. This is also on Matador, Not in My Air Force. Great record. Every bit as good as any of those classic Guided by Voices records. And he could have continued on as a solo artist. But I think he understood the wisdom of trying to keep that Guided by Voices brand going for a while. But by the end of 1996, it looked like Guided by Voices was finished. so-called classic lineup anyway, was kaput. But in early '97, the single came out on Jazz, Wish in One Hand, 2 B-sides. Recorded in '96 with Kevin Fennell and some guy named Nick. I'm not even sure who that is. Another great 7-inch. And what's interesting is that, particularly this song "Real," marks maturity in Pollard's songwriting. You know, in those early records, you know, he had been surrounded by 10-year-olds for years, and so a lot of the lyrics, you know, were about demons and dragons and elves and spaceships. And while a lot of people, you know, lamented the passing of that sort of whimsical, childlike naivete, Pollard couldn't continue writing like that, and so the subject matter becomes more adult from this point forward. Still poetic with clever wordplay and insane stuff, but yeah, it's not about elves anymore. Almost forgot, end of 1996, another record, yes. On their fan club, Rockathon, Tonics and Twisted Chasers. I was just getting into the band around this time, and so missed out on the fan club LP. It's now really rare and expensive. This is a CD reissue with some bonus tracks. This is very similar to King Shit and the Golden Boys on box. Stuff from the Suitcase, early versions of songs. Not essential, but cool. I'd love to have an original, but out of my league. Excuse me. So, Pollard wants to keep going. Mitch Mitchell's disappeared. He hooks up with this Dayton band called Cobra Verde. Kind of had their own career going, but they agreed to back him, like, be his backup band, assume the name Guided by Voices. And yeah, that didn't work out so great. So 1997, put out this record, Mag Earwig, great cover, collage by Pollard, gatefold. Now don't get me wrong, most bands would give their right arm to make a record as good as Mag Earwig. But comparatively speaking, this is pretty weak. Probably the worst Guided by Voices record since Sandbox. But there's some great tracks, some cool singles. There's Bulldog Skin. 7-inch has 2 B-sides. There's a CD, EP that adds yet another B-side. And then another single, I don't have the 7-inch, I'm a Tree, with 3 more B-sides that are all great. What's interesting is that I'm a Tree is not a Pollard song. It's written by Doug Gillard, the lead guitar player from Cobra Verde, who is himself an accomplished songwriter and a great guitar player too. This is great song. Great vocal from Pollard, and I think the only time a non-Pollard song was an A-side on Guided by Voices record. So, yeah. While the album's not so great, some great singles, but as a touring entity, the Cobra Verde version of Guided by Voices didn't work out. Aside from Doug Gillard, the rest of the band didn't like playing second banana to Rob Pollard. And I think some of their antics finally pushed Pollard over the edge. At the end of the year, he fired them all. And in 1998, there were no Guided by Voices records at all. He did put this out, second solo album on Matador, Waved Out. Great. A lot of songs would go on to become staples in the Guided by Voices live set. But at the time, it was unclear whether Guided by Voices was still going to be an ongoing concern. Yeah, this is great. And I'm going to stop there because there's one last little bit, one last try at the big time, and I'll get to that next time. I'll see you soon.